The first engine arrived on a rainy Tuesday morning. It was twisted, burned, and so badly damaged that most mechanics would have sent it straight to a scrapyard without a second glance. Yet every few months, another one arrived. Then another. Then another. For 10 long years, truck after truck rolled into a small, forgotten garage at the edge of town carrying broken engines from one of the largest manufacturing companies in the state. Nobody understood why. The company's powerful CEO never explained. The single father who owned the garage never complained. And neither of them knew that one day those discarded engines would become the reason one life was saved, and another was completely rebuilt. Before we begin, if you believe kindness matters, if you believe people deserve second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more stories like this reach people who need hope. At the far end of an industrial district stood a small garage with faded blue walls and a rusted metal sign that simply read, Mason Repair Works. The garage belonged to Mason Carter, a hardworking mechanic who had spent most of his adult life fixing machines that everyone else had given up on. Life had not been kind to him. 5 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a long illness, leaving him alone to raise their young son, Noah. The loss shattered him. Every morning he woke before sunrise, prepared breakfast, packed lunches, drove Noah to school, and then spent 12 exhausting hours repairing engines, transmissions, and farm equipment just to keep the lights on. Many nights he worked until midnight. Many mornings he wondered how much longer he could keep going. But every time he looked at Noah, he found a reason to continue. The garage barely made enough money to survive. Customers often chose larger repair shops with newer equipment. Banks rejected his loan applications. Bills piled up on his desk. And yet somehow, month after month, he managed to stay afloat. Then came the engines. The first shipment arrived without warning. A driver handed Mason a document from a company called Titan Dynamics, one of the largest engine manufacturers in the region. According to the paperwork, the engine had been designated as industrial waste. Mason assumed there had been a mistake. Why would a major corporation send waste materials to a tiny independent garage? He called the number on the form. After several transfers, a secretary informed him that the shipment was intentional. The company would continue delivering damaged engines to his location. No further explanation was provided. Mason was confused, but he accepted the delivery. At first he simply stored the engine in a corner of the garage. Months later, another one arrived. Then another. Soon an entire section of the property was filled with broken Titan Dynamics engines. Some were cracked. Some were burned. Some appeared completely destroyed. Most mechanics would have viewed them as useless junk. But Mason saw something different. He saw possibilities. Whenever business slowed, he began studying the damaged machinery. He carefully dismantled each engine. He examined every component. He learned how Titan systems worked. He discovered manufacturing weaknesses. He identified recurring design flaws. What began as curiosity slowly turned into expertise. Over time, Mason became more knowledgeable about Titan Dynamics engines than many technicians who actually worked for the company. Years passed. The shipments continued. Nobody from Titan ever visited. Nobody explained why the engines were being sent. The mystery became part of everyday life. Meanwhile, Titan Dynamics continued growing. Its CEO, Victoria Langford, became famous throughout the business world. Magazines praised her leadership. News outlets celebrated her success. She appeared on conference stages and television interviews, speaking about innovation, efficiency, and corporate excellence. To the public, she seemed unstoppable. But behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to form. Victoria had built Titan Dynamics into a giant corporation through relentless ambition. She demanded perfection from everyone around her. Employees feared making mistakes. Managers competed against one another. Departments stopped communicating openly. Problems were hidden rather than solved. The company looked strong from the outside. Inside, it was slowly breaking apart. Victoria rarely visited manufacturing facilities anymore. She spent most of her time meeting investors and expanding operations. Whenever engineers reported concerns about product reliability, those concerns were often buried beneath deadlines and profit targets. The company's success had become more important than its integrity. At least, that was how many employees felt. Meanwhile, Mason remained invisible. No business magazines featured him. No reporters interviewed him. No awards recognized his perseverance. Every day he focused on the same routine. Work. Parenting. Survival. Yet beneath that modest existence, something extraordinary was happening. Each broken engine taught him another lesson. Each failure revealed another hidden truth. Each damaged component became part of a growing collection of knowledge. Without realizing it, he was assembling a complete picture of Titan Dynamics' weaknesses. One winter evening, after Noah had finished his homework, he wandered into the garage. The boy was now 15 years old. Tall, thoughtful, and curious, he had inherited his father's patience. Together they examined one of the latest engines. As snow drifted outside the windows, Mason explained why a specific component kept failing. Noah listened carefully. The conversation lasted for hours. Moments like those became their favorite tradition. The broken engines that cluttered the garage had become something unexpected. They were teaching tools. They gave father and son opportunities to learn together. They gave Noah confidence. And they gave Mason purpose. For the first time in years, he felt like he was building something instead of merely surviving. Then everything changed. It started with a news report. One morning television screens across the country flashed alarming headlines. Titan Dynamics was facing a major crisis. Several recently released industrial engines had suffered catastrophic failures. Customers reported severe mechanical breakdowns. Contracts were being cancelled. Investigations were launched. Investors panicked. Stock prices plummeted. Within weeks, the company lost millions of dollars. The crisis spread faster than anyone expected. Factories slowed production. Layoffs began. Executives blamed suppliers. Suppliers blamed engineers. Engineers blamed management. Everyone searched for someone to hold responsible. Yet the deeper investigators looked, the clearer the truth became. The failures were not isolated incidents. They were symptoms of problems that had existed for years. Problems that nobody had wanted to address. Problems hidden beneath impressive profits and public praise. Victoria Langford suddenly found herself facing the greatest challenge of her career. The media that once celebrated her now questioned her leadership. Investors demanded answers. Board members demanded solutions. Every day brought new pressure. Every day the company sank deeper into trouble. For the first time in decades, Victoria felt powerless. One evening she sat alone in her office overlooking the city skyline. Rain streaked across the glass. The lights of countless buildings shimmered below. Yet despite the breathtaking view, she felt trapped. She reviewed report after report. Failure analysis. Customer complaints. Financial projections. Nothing offered hope. Then one document caught her attention. It referenced a long-forgotten waste disposal program. A list of discarded engines. Thousands of them. Sent over many years to a small garage. Mason Repair Works. Victoria frowned. She had no memory of the program. Curious, she requested additional information. Hours later, a thick folder arrived. As she flipped through the pages, confusion turned into disbelief. The discarded engines represented a history of recurring failures stretching back nearly a decade. Patterns emerged. The same defects appeared repeatedly. The same weaknesses surfaced again and again. Somehow, the evidence had been scattered across years of operations without anyone connecting the dots. And all of it had ended up in one place. A tiny garage owned by a single father. Victoria stared at the address. For reasons she could not fully explain, she felt compelled to visit. The following morning, she cancelled her meetings. Ignoring the objections of advisors and assistants, she drove herself to the outskirts of town. The journey took less than an hour. Yet it felt like traveling into another world. Gone were the glass towers and luxury offices. Gone were the executive boardrooms and investor conferences. In their place stood aging warehouses, modest workshops, and hardworking people simply trying to make a living. When Victoria finally pulled into Mason Repair Works, she was stunned. The yard contained rows upon rows of damaged Titan Dynamics engines. Hundreds of them. Perhaps more. Each one represented a failure her company had overlooked. Each one represented a warning sign nobody had taken seriously. And standing among them was the man who had spent years studying every single mistake. Victoria stepped out of her car. For a moment, neither she nor Mason understood that this meeting would change both of their lives forever. Because hidden among those discarded engines was a discovery capable of saving Titan Dynamics from complete destruction. And hidden inside the struggling single father was a strength that no executive, investor, or journalist had ever noticed. The collapse of a billion-dollar company had finally led its powerful CEO to the one man she had unknowingly been helping for 10 years. Neither of them knew what would happen next. But both were about to discover that sometimes the things we throw away become the very things that save us. Before we reach the ending of this incredible journey, I have a special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness comes back," if you believe every good deed eventually finds its way home. And if this story has touched your heart so far, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps keep inspiring stories alive and allows more people to discover messages of hope, resilience, and second chances.